We are recording. All right. This is our first time back for a while. We haven't done a podcast in nearly a year here.
Yeah.
I'm Matt. I'm with otherpeoplesmovies.com, and we are going to be talking today. I'm going to be ranking my favorite, all 10 of David Lynch's feature length films. Little history with me and David Lynch. He's been my favorite filmmaker and will always be my favorite filmmaker. I think since I was about in the eighth grade, I want to say, which is probably a little too young to be into Lynch, but I was. He's been my favorite filmmaker since I was about 12 or 13. We'll get into my first experiences with him as I go down my list. I've got 10 movies we're going to be talking about here, and all 10 of them are worthwhile. Eight of them are, in my opinion, masterpieces. So it's hard to rank them. If you ask me 5 years from now to rank them, they'd probably end up being a different order, but I love almost every single one of them, despite some of their flaws or despite issues I may have with some of them. There's only one I particularly dislike, but we'll get into that in a minute. Uh, um, I think my the before we dive deep into his movies, I want to say that I think David Lynch's greatest accomplishment was Twin Peaks. It was not. It was it wasn't great through and through. There were imperfections. There were. It didn't. It had its dips in quality, but when Twin Peaks was at its best, I think that it's the best filmmaking ever. Like I said, David Lynch is my favorite filmmaker. I think Twin Peaks at its best surpasses all movies and television. I think the pilot episode, especially of Twin Peaks, if I could count that as a movie, which I'm not, it would be my favorite movie. It would be what I consider to be the best that cinema has to offer. So I considered Twin Peaks to be his primary accomplishment. I wasn't huge on season three, even though I've grown to appreciate it with repeat viewings. The new season, I should say, or the newer season. But yeah, I think that Twin Peaks is where the world of Twin Peaks was David Lynch at his best, but he's made some damn fine movies on top of that, and we're going to be talking about them here. Yesterday would have been his 80th birthday, and he passed away a year ago, about 5 days ago. It's the 21st today. He passed away on the 16th of January, I believe, 2025. So we're just a little bit shy of the year long anniversary of his passing. So what's your history with David Lynch, real briefly, Luke?
Uh, I to in a word, he's kind of just a luminary that I respect and admire, and I have tried like crazy to become a super fan of his. And because I respect him as an artist so much, and I, uh, I don't, my experiences have not been as great as yours.
Gotcha.
That having been said, I objectively, I I don't think that he's made a bad movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the we'd probably agree on which the worst one is, but I, the when he's had control, the artistry has always been there.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whether or not they've been satisfying on a narrative level for me, which is what I care about the most,
Yeah.
that it has nothing to do with the quality of the cinematography.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Um, yeah. I should say real quick before we dive deep into the movies. In some ways, I hate using this term because it's not entirely true, but I don't. There are current filmmakers that I probably respond to more today than I do about Lynch. I feel like I know his work so well that I've maybe outgrown him in recent years, but I see faults in his work that I didn't see when I was young and just idolized him as my all-time hero. Like I said,
Yeah.
he's my favorite filmmaker and he'll probably always be my favorite filmmaker, but I still see faults in what he does, and I see those the older I get and the more I look at his work through the lens of adult eyes with my own personal experiences, I do see fault in his work sometimes
There you go.
that I didn't see before. But okay, yeah. Well, let's get started. I'm not sure. I'm going to start with number 10. I'm not sure if we're going to agree on what I believe to be his worst movie. For me, number 10 would be 2006's Inland Empire.
Okay.
That's my least favorite Lynch movie. I don't have a lot to say about it. I saw it. It was an awesome experience getting to see it in a theater because he introduced it. He was touring the movie back in 2006, 2007. I saw it in Chicago. I wish I remembered the name of the theater. I don't remember where I saw it, but I saw it on a night that he introduced it. He came out, he read this little poem about a dream being like a spider's web, very Lynchian. I don't remember it, but it was very cool just seeing him there. He was there for like he was on stage for maybe 2 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. But it was really cool to be there. It was a cool experience. The movie itself, I've never responded to. I don't get what he's trying to say with it. I know it was very artistically freeing for him to do it. He made it very cheaply, he made it very independently. He had complete freedom in doing it. I'm not so sure that complete freedom is what Lynch needs, though, because it can. I hate using this term because it's what people who don't like Lynch describe his work as being, but it was a little masturbatory, in my opinion. It was a little bit. It was a little. I could. It was exclusive. It was not. I could not get what he was trying to communicate with this movie. I could not get what he was trying to explain to his audience with it. And on top of that, I don't like the cinematography. I don't like the cameras he chose to shoot it with. I think aesthetically it's his ugliest movie. It's very unpleasant to look at. It's got the shaky close up, out of focus, often close ups. It's just not. I just don't think it's very well filmed for the most part. It has its moments. Like I said, the movie definitely has its moments. It's got its worthwhile moments. I've seen it like half a dozen times, and every time I watch it, I want to like it. But I've never walked away from that movie being like, "Ooh, I like that movie." Have you seen it?
I've tried to watch it a few times, but it's really hard to get into. Like you
Yes.
said,
Yes.
it's
It's just
I even the stars themselves have said that they don't understand it,
yeah.
and um, uh, it his work is so experimental, and he uses dream logic so much, and he hates to explain his films so much that uh, uh, you either have to just agree to go along for the ride, or get out at the first opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. And in
And
this case you chose to get out.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't blame you. Like I said, I don't get much out of this movie. I don't get
Well,
much out of this movie.
he his marketing campaign, he he didn't really have one. He like you said, he took it around the country and whatnot. In LA, I think it was LA. He rented a cow and
Yes.
just sat up in the side of the road with
That
a Laura Dern poster and be
yes,
like, "Hey,
that was to promote Laura Dern for an Oscar nomination. He was trying
well, there you go."
that was what he was trying to do to get Laura Dern an Oscar nomination. And she's fantastic in the movie. She's really
Yeah.
good in the movie. It's
Yeah.
just yeah.
So, and like he said, like when he she closed on the set, he was like, "That's great. You're gonna chase him out of the movie theaters,"
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Laura was like, that's not what most movie starlets would want to hear,
Right.
but coming from David Lynch, that was great compliment.
Right, right. Yeah, just to get a little further into it, it is like I kind of said earlier, it to me proves what Lynch's naysayers have to say against him. It proves them right. It's the one movie that I feel like it kind of fetishizes and romanticizes female suffering uh, and female
Yeah,
victimization in a way that I just don't feel like he has a point to it. I feel like he's doing it for
yeah,
the sake of doing it. And that's something that, like I said, in my more mature years, I notice is a thread in his work is
yeah,
romanticizing female victimization.
yeah.
But there's an innocence to it in his other works that makes it, I dare I say, endearing. But Inland Empire, aesthetically and thematically, I just find it ugly. So
Yeah. He it's I mean he had four wives, so and kind of I guess was a romantic partner with Isabella
mhm.
Rossellini along the way
Yeah,
there. So five romantic partners as an a serious or five serious romantic partners as an adult,
Yeah.
it it suggests that maybe he doesn't have the greatest appreciation for women.
I don't
That
know.
they're
I
that
think
they're
everybody who knew him, like his daughter and people who knew him, said he loves women, but he may have loved them too much. He may have loved them in a. I think the way he loves women is different from maybe the way a lot of men love women. It's maybe it may not be the healthiest way. I mean,
yeah
if we're gonna get straightforward, but I think he loved women. I think he worshipped them. I think he put them on pedestals. I just am not entirely sure, and we'll get into this with his other work, but which I love. Pretty much everything else other than this movie, I love to even despite their flaws.
yeah
Uh, 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 I think it's something that I think he loved women, but I'm not
yeah
entirely sure the way he loved them was entirely what we call healthy today. So
yeah. I think that's probably a fair way to put it.
yeah,
He said that the art life was all about coffee and cigarettes and painting
yeah,
and maybe some women along the way.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
uh,
I mean,
yeah.
so I think he that that uh, women worked very well as muses for him,
Hmm.
and he I think he had some great examples. I think his mother was very loving and nurturing woman, and
Yeah.
so I don't think that he probably hated women in any
No,
kind of a way.
I don't think he did.
I,
I don't think he
I
did.
just think his personality didn't mesh with being both a great artist and a a fantastic marital partner.
And that's true for most great artists.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if we're going to be
yeah,
honest with ourselves, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And from what
yeah,
I understand, his mother. I've read several biographies about him. I think his mother was very loving, but she was also very stern with him. And I
yeah,
think I we may hear more about that now that he's passed in a biography that people are maybe a little more honest in. But who knows? Who knows? I'm not entirely sure what his relationship was to his mother. She was very stern with him, but loving. She
yeah,
sounded like a very good woman. I mean, I again,
yeah.
I don't want to speak ill of somebody who I don't know much about, but
Yeah, that's what I would agree with in his interviews with her,
yeah,
or I'm sorry, in his interviews about her.
yeah,
That would be
yeah.
astute.
Number nine would be Dune, 1984's adaptation of Dune. You know, I gotta admit, yes, it. I can't say this is a good movie. I can't say it makes sense. And it makes sense. It doesn't make sense in a enthralling David Lynchian way. It just doesn't make sense. It's a mess.
Mhm.
But that being said, it is a beautiful mess, and it for me it is an intoxicating mess. There's not another movie like David Lynch's Dune. There's not another big budget Hollywood movie like David Lynch's Dune. And as much as I recognize its faults, it's probably the David Lynch movie I've seen the most. I watch it at least once a year. I have multiple copies of it, as you can see. I don't want to unplug
Yeah,
my. You can kind of see right there on my David Lynch shelf at the very top. I have multiple copies of it with different special features, uh, and it just it just it's I love watching it.
hmm
Like I said, I can't say it's a good movie, but it's a beautiful movie to look at. The set design, the costume designs, the I even like Toto's music. It's just everything about it is it's fascinating, but at the same time, I recognize that it's a great big mess.
okay. Yeah, I agree with you. As a sci-fi geek, it used to be my favorite Lynch film,
Yeah,
and I hadn't watched it for a long time when Villeneuve's is it Villeneuve? Oh, anyhow,
Villeneuve. I think I'm
when
not
his
sure how to pronounce it.
when his well, when his Dune came out, I was like, it blew the other one out of the water. However, there are a lot of narrative elements in Herbert's Dune that Lynch's film covers that Villeneuve's does not
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah.
Like uh the the what were they called, the navigators, the spacers guild or
Hmm.
whatever. They are only background actors in the Dune 1 and 2,
Yeah.
Villeneuve, but they provide major they have speaking roles in Lynch's Dune, and we even see one of the navigators,
Yeah.
the in that huge tank,
Right. Which
and we
in
flying.
the navigator being in that form is entirely Lynch's creation, right? That's not in the book, right? Of
I
it.
think it's an interpretation
Okay.
of it, but I don't. Yeah, I don't think that that's how that they're supposed to
I've
look.
listened to
I
the
think
audiobook. It's been a couple years since I've listened to the audiobook. I'm not real familiar with Herbert's. I couldn't get into reading it, so I listened to the
yeah,
audiobook and I paid maybe half attention to it. It's not my cup of tea, but I mean it's a well
yeah.
written book. I recognize its brilliance, but it's just not my cup of tea. Uh
Well, the the with the consumption of enough of the spice, it'll turn them into a worm,
right.
and so that may have been. I think Lynch may have been speculating that that was a secret
Okay.
that the Spacers Guild had, and that's why they were such a closely guarded secret and everything
Gotcha.
like that. But
Is that in Frank Herbert's book that they'll turn into a worm with enough consumption of the spice?
well, yeah, there's the God Emperor Doom.
Okay.
Um, Leto the Second turns himself into a worm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
didn't know.
he lives for 10,000 years and rules the empire with an iron fist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the idea that Lynch is though yes, Lynch turning the navigator into a worm wasn't part of it. It I think that they were definitely um uh warped in some kind of a way
Gotcha.
that maybe he didn't spend a lot of time, from what I remember. I don't think he spent a lot of time describing them,
Gotcha.
but because they really were I think that Lynch made them such a huge element because he wanted to explain how they made space travel possible
Gotcha.
by um by using their advanced um powers of divination
Yeah.
to see the correct way through the stars and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that I liked, and I don't know how to pronounce his name either. Villeneuve, I'll call him. I think it's Villeneuve.
Hmm.
Villeneuve's Dune movies that cover the first two Dune movies that cover the same basis material. I've grown to like them. I didn't love them at first. I watched them again in the last 6 months or so, and I really did. I have grown to appreciate them. I think they're compared to Lynch's version, they're better movies, but they play it safer. They're a little more straightforward.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
personally, even though I
Agree.
can objectively say they're better movies, I personally prefer Lynch's version just because it's so out there
It
and
is.
strange and unique.
Well,
Lynch's movie is unique.
yes, for sure about that. I mean, in some ways it probably benefited from Jodorowsky's failed Dune,
Sure.
because it I mean that survived as Alien, and Alien is such a great movie,
Sure. Sure.
and it and so we owe Jodorowsky's insanity, that made that possible.
Yeah.
The and what's his the other one is there were a bunch of special effects dudes and designers who made it possible,
Yeah.
but Jodorowsky being so weird and out there, that was, I think, the initial impetus that made it, that was able to bring all those creative geniuses together. Um, Lynch Lynch for the most part, I think he benefited from the legacy of, well, at least it's not as weird as Jodorowsky. At least
Yeah.
it's more
Yeah.
tenable. This is a madman that we can work with.
Yes. Yeah.
Because had he already made Elephant Man at that point?
Yes. He had made
So
Eraserhead and Elephant Man.
so what was the other one? He
Eraserhead.
Eraser, yeah. So
Yeah.
he had made Eraserhead and Elephant Man. So they knew that he could do it.
Yeah,
You know, he whereas uh but let's see here. So Villeneuve, his films are, yes, they're more satisfying on as film, but I can definitely appreciate why you like Lynch's film better, because he did he he liked to experiment on set.
yeah.
That having been said, I think that the performances in Lynch's movie are really just a little too over the top for my sake.
There,
I
it's a very theatrical style. It's a very
Yeah,
hyper real theatrical style. I
yeah,
feel like I one of the biggest tragedies to me of David Lynch's untimely passing is that we're never going to get to see a Dune, like 3.5 hour long Dune director's cut. I think I would have loved to have seen his vision, even though I know it was compromised from the start. I would have loved to have seen his vision a little more developed, because I think that the style of acting that you're talking about was very intentional. It was theatrical. So
that's possible. I mean I think that the theatrical style works best with um with box set, theater,
yeah,
or or you know where the designer team doesn't have to work overboard.
right,
You know,
right.
that theatrical style doesn't work as well, and it worked really well in Twin Peaks.
Hmm.
Where it worked, where the sets were 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 more mundane, and for the most part, and when they did have really abstract sets, that played into that theatrical style as well.
Sure.
The with with the wide angle lenses and and just those gorgeous subject sets, in my opinion, the overacting wasn't as necessary,
Gotcha.
and I don't disagree with the choice necessarily, uh, until you compare it to Villeneuve's Dune, and
Gotcha.
just how,
That's
I mean,
fair.
the yeah, and
That's fair.
then for me, I mean, I can just watch the Villeneuve's Dune over and over again, and I did
Yeah.
for a while,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's just nothing else I like it out there
Gotcha.
on TV. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now we're down to the top eight, and I'm just going to preface what I'm about to say here. These eight movies are all masterworks, in my opinion. Everything here is a grade A. I see faults in some of them. None of them are exactly perfect, but the remaining eight movies of his 10 part filmography, I consider all these movies to be masterpieces. Ask me again in 5 years to rank his movies, it would probably these eight movies would probably still be in the on top, but they'd probably be ordered differently. So this is my ranking of today. Number eight, The Elephant Man, 1980s The Elephant Man. Beautiful movie, beautiful, empathetic, sad, tragic, just beautifully made, beautifully crafted. I have very little to say about how good it is, because it's just a very touching movie about how we treat people who are different, how we treat people who are outsiders. And it's a wonderful film. If I have one complaint about it, it's in my adult years, Lynch's flourishes, his kind of nightmarish sequences that start the movie, and there are a few little sequences within the movie, for me now as an adult, feel a little out of place, and they maybe send the wrong message a little bit in a movie that's trying to make you empathetic towards an outsider, a deformed man. But that's my one complaint, and that's what keeps it from being an A+ movie. It's still a grade A movie in my opinion. It's still a great movie. I just think Lynch's flourishes are a little out of place when I look at it through adult eyes. When I looked at it in the last year after he passed, but other than
Well,
that,
there's at least one Academy Award associated with it, right?
it was nominated for several. I don't know if it won any. I know it didn't win any of the major awards, nothing like screenplay or actor or anything like that. But I know it was nominated for a ton of them. Lynch was nominated. I believe both John Hurt and Anthony Hopkins were nominated. But I'm not. I don't quote me on that. I'm not sure.
Well, nominations themselves are a big deal. So
Sure, sure,
yeah.
sure.
Um, John Hurt was played the title character,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Great in that. He and then Anthony Hopkins played the Doctor, another great role.
John Treves. Yep.
Uh, I agree with you 100% on it being a meditation on empathy and it being hard to watch um, was definitely the point. The empathy isn't supposed to be easy,
Right.
and but it really is a beautiful film.
It really is.
I I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember it being just a really good and beautiful
It
film. I
holds
think
up. Despite my
it's
minor complaints against it, it
yeah
truly holds up, and I think it always will hold up. It's kind of a timeless story, and it's kind of told
yeah
timelessly. So
yeah
it really,
it's
it's a beautiful movie.
yes, and it's more accessible than some of
Yeah.
his other films
Yes.
too. It's um yeah no I don't feel as though it punishes you at any time for watching
No.
it.
No.
You
No.
know,
No.
it tries to I mean the nightmare sequences like you mentioned um they are there um more to help build the narrative than to shock you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think at any time is there an element in the Elephant Man that is meant to just uh, be an experiment for the sake of David Lynch. Want to say, um, let's see what happens if we do this.
Yeah.
you know?
See, that was that. Honestly, that's interesting that you'd say that because that was partially my complaint is that I kind of did feel that way watching it through adult eyes. But I'll look at it again with your perspective. But like I said,
It's been a long time.
it doesn't ruin the movie for me at all.
Yeah,
It's their choices that I question, and that's as.
yeah,
But
that makes sense.
again, it's still a grade A movie. It's still a grade A
Yeah,
movie.
I totally agree with you. It's I don't think that I am I wouldn't mind watching it again. It's
You
been a
should.
long time since I've seen it,
It's a beautiful
but
movie.
it's yeah, it really is.
It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
Number seven is again one of Lynch's more accessible movies. Is The Straight Story, 1999. Beautiful movie. Once again,
Again.
I
Yeah.
see no real fault with it. The only reason it's currently ranked at number seven, I could easily rank this higher, and it was hard for me not to. Like I said, these are all great movies. All the remaining
Yeah.
movies are unquestionably great movies, in my opinion. The only reason it's not higher at this point in my life is that it's a little less original than it doesn't quite have the Lynch
Yeah.
originality and the daring the it doesn't quite have Lynch's voice that makes his other movies so strong. It's still very much a Lynch movie. Don't get me wrong. It's still his style still there. His fingerprints are still there. It's just a much more accessible and I don't mean to put it down at all by using this word. It's a little bit more of a basic story. It's not quite as ambitious as his other films, so it
Yeah.
doesn't quite but it's great. It's a great character piece. Richard Farnsworth, I wish he would have won the Oscar for it because he's an amazing actor
Yeah.
and I love Richard Farnsworth. I just watched Misery again to honor Rob Reiner, and Richard Farnsworth had a great part in that. It just reminded me how great he is in everything I've ever seen him in, and it's Richard Farnsworth movie. Sissy Spacek's wonderful in it as well as his mentally handicapped daughter. Um, just it's a great movie about a character piece about a guy who drives his tractor across the country to see his ailing brother. It's
Yeah.
just beautiful movie, beautiful movie.
It really is. It's in that in a way it's his least Lynchian film in
Yeah,
that the doesn't have all the experimental stuff that so many people hate, but it really is a beautiful story,
it really
and
is. It really
it
is.
it, it, I don't think it is any less deserving
No,
of people's attention just because it's maybe a little bit more boring. You know that that's I, uh, boring is maybe an unfair word. It's not as exciting
sure.
as Dune. It's not as as disturbing as some of his others, but it is a it is a beautiful film,
Yeah,
and on it's uh and like you said, Farnsworth he he really does play just a a fantastic character that you wish that you knew more of them.
Right,
You know, I mean, the world is populated by so many people who just
right,
like, why are they taking up space? Whereas
right.
Richard Farnsworth's character, he's just he's just like a he doesn't mind taking the world as slow as it goes. He knows
Exactly.
that if he putting one foot in front of the other, eventually he'll arrive at his destination, and
Yeah,
it's a it's a beautifully meditative piece.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I love it.
yeah,
I love it. Number six, and this is again, okay, the remaining six movies now. Let me preface this. These are all movies that are in my top 100. All six of the remaining movies are I would count as being amongst my favorite movies. I'll find fault in some of them, as I'm about to say, but yeah, the remaining six of these movies, love them all. I mean, and I loved a lot the previous two that I mentioned, but these six movies are all masterpieces in my opinion. So it was very hard for me to rank these. But number six would be Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me 1992's. It's as a part of Twin Peaks, it's masterful. It's a wonderful movie. It's a wrenching movie about incest and sexual abuse towards women, and
yeah,
it covers some very uncomfortable topics in a very empathetic and very disturbing manner. It's a beautiful movie. My issues with it, why it's number six instead of number two or number one, despite how powerful it is, despite how great it is, um, my issues are it's a piece of Twin Peaks. You have to know in order to be fully moved by it, I believe, in order to get the full effect of how great it is, you have to be familiar with Twin Peaks, and even more so, you probably should read Jennifer Lynch's uh, "The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer," which was published. I think it's still available. It was published around the time that the original series was on in the early '90s, I believe, around 1990. Beautiful piece of writing, beautiful insight into an abused girl's mind. It's a wonderful companion piece to Fire Walk with Me. I wish Lynch had integrated bits of it into the movie. And I also need to say there's 90 minutes of deleted scenes that were finally released about 10 years ago after fans waited and waited for years. And there's a movie in there that I think he could have made a little bit better. I think he could have made a little bit better of a movie if he had focused a little bit more on Laura Palmer, if he had focused a little bit more on her relationship with her father, which scenes do exist developing this, rather than focus the first, I'm not positive how long it was, but let's say half hour on the FBI agents and the greater world of Twin Peaks. Once it gets to be Laura Palmer's story, it's powerful, and I love the FBI agent stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love the
yeah.
FBI agent stuff. I'm just not sure that it was the best choice to have it begin the movie for Laura Palmer's story. I feel like Laura Palmer's story could have been developed a little bit better, a little bit further. Again, it's a grade A movie. I'm nitpicking. I see through adult eyes that it could have been Lynch's premiere masterpiece, and it wasn't quite. But as a piece of Twin Peaks, it's wonderful. As its own standalone story, it's not quite as masterful.
Right, right. That makes sense. Do you know how much of the story Lynch discovered in making it? Like, did he know the whole time that the spoiler alert? Did he know the whole time that how it was going to end? That the father
It
was
had
a
already been
demon.
revealed in the series. It had already been revealed in the series by the time they made the movie.
That's not what I mean.
Oh,
Like, like when like
when he
in the
was making
storyboard
this,
process. Yeah, as he was making the series, at what point did he figure out did how Laura Palmer died?
if he and
Did,
Mark
did
Frost are to be believed, and they have stated that they didn't really discuss it a lot, but they always knew it was him. I think from
that
the
was
get,
news.
I think from the get go, they always knew it was him. There's things that Lynch discovered along the way in Twin Peaks that were kind of made up as they went along, such as the little person in the red room, and that stuff was developed while they were filming it. Like, and the invention of Bob, I believe, was a happy accident that happened on set
Yeah,
because I believe look at the documentaries or read Lynch's biographies, but there were accidents on set. Frank Silva, the guy who played Bob, was a set dresser. And he happened to show up in shots. People said, "Stay out of that room. You'll get trapped in there." Gave Lynch's ideas. It gave
Yeah.
Lynch ideas. So that stuff was made up as they went along. If you're to believe Lynch and Mark Frost, they knew from the get go that it was Leland Palmer who was Laura Palmer's murderer.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That resolves a lot of it for me. If I I like the story well enough, and I was willing to go along with the happy accidents, contributing to the story. Um, that I thought that the discovery of the larger narrative was fun,
yeah.
and not that Laura Palmer being raped and murdered is fun, but
No, no.
the but the Bob being, his face accidentally appearing in screen, that became like a part of the backstory, and I thought that was fine. I didn't have a problem with any of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Happy accidents, you know, um, can make a great masterpieces.
Absolutely,
So
and
and
that's the fascinating way that David Lynch worked. He was very improvisational. He was very jazz artisty.
mhm,
He was, and that's something I emulated when I made my own movies and stuff. Not so much on the one I just finished. I was very strict with the script because we didn't have time for that kind of stuff. Both ways of working have merit. Sticking to a script and if the script is carefully written and sticking to it, I can see merit in that. But I love
yeah,
Lynch's approach because it makes his work very much alive. His work is
yeah,
very it. The downside is that it's maybe a little sloppy sometimes, but who gives a crap? I mean, because it's just part of what makes his work so fascinating is that he is
yeah,
that open to possibilities while he's filming.
yeah. I
Or
agree.
he used to be.
It's I mean, the Twin Peaks, if for no other reason, the fact that it helped keep diner culture alive for another,
Yeah.
decade or two, I think Twin Peaks deserves to be remembered for a long time as a really great piece of Americana.
Like I said, my, Twin Peaks at its best is to me the best that cinema has to offer. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
I
Uh,
I I understand.
yeah. Number five, Mulholland Drive, 2001. Oh God, what an amazing movie. I love it. I watch it every few years. It's a movie about, and to me, it's a movie about somebody dealing with their guilt over murdering somebody. It's a movie about being in love with fame and not being able to get it. It's a movie about Hollywood and what it does to the psyche. It's just a movie that works on so many different levels. It's just I love its structure. I love the narrative. I know it started off as a TV pilot and then Lynch shot the last 20 minutes. So that was an example of a Lynch movie that was very much kind of developed as it went along. But the way it fell into place, man, I still remember walking out of that movie when I saw a preview screening of it back in 2001. And I think it was 2001. Um, I couldn't talk. It just blew me away. It just shook me to my core. What a powerful movie. And it's number five. So it's like that just goes to show you how much I love Lynch's
Yeah.
work. It's an amazing movie. And I love it. I love it. And it's one of my favorite movies.
I it that's one of the ones where I was like, what the hell is happening? Almost the whole time. It was
Really?
it, the the uh and I for that movie I enjoyed it. That's the one with Naomi Watts, right?
Yeah. No, no, no. That's yes. I'm sorry. Yes, yes. That was her
So
breakout role.
yeah, I thought this is a really neat movie. Like what's happening with the blue key,
Hmm.
the all the blue elements. I just thought, what is happening here?
Watch it
You know,
again because it's one of the few Lynch movies, in my opinion. It's one of the few Lynch movies that you actually can answer your questions on. Watch it again because there's flashbacks, there's flash forwards, there's dream sequences. The big thing, the first 90 minutes or 90 plus minutes is basically a dream. And then she
yeah.
wakes up from the dream. And spoiler alert, I mean, I assume people have seen his movies before they're listening to this, if they're listening to this. But look at it more closely. I guarantee you, watch it again. It makes sense. It comes together. It's one of the few Lynch movies where it's not that abstract. It's actually, I wouldn't say straightforward. It's
Yeah.
convoluted, but you can piece it together, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, the one that I that the you haven't mentioned the one that I the only well I wasn't able to get through Inland Empire, but the only one that I really had a problem with narrative wise you haven't mentioned yet. So
Okay.
uh I I the the I remember I watched it when I was in my 20s. I was a film student at the time, and I was captivated by the beauty of the women on screen
Yes.
and
Yes.
the various ways they were depicted. And so I I did I don't know if I watched it uh uh the strictly to just watch the story. Sometimes I just watch it just because I liked looking at them so
Sure.
much, which sounds really pervy to say as they come off, but
Right.
they just were really. Uh, I just thought it was such a. I've said this a lot, but it was a beautiful film, and I
Oh yeah.
really enjoyed the way that he shot those scenes because
Yes.
the, he went from dark moments to bright hopeful moments to just the most noirish depictions of gritty Hollywood,
Hmm.
and then this like and then just like something that's straight out of you know, a heroin addicted nightmare or something like
Right.
that. I,
Right.
I, yeah, it really does deserve rewatching several times, and
Absolutely.
I, I definitely think that I need to rewatch it again as
I
as a mature adult man.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Number four is his first movie, 1977's Eraserhead. Again, what a freaking movie! I mean, you kind of, if you've read biographies on Lynch, if you've read about his life, I hate to say it's straightforward, but you can jump to conclusions that it's very much about his time in Philadelphia, which terrified him. He lived in a rough area in Philadelphia. I know the movie
Yeah,
was very inspired by that. He had a lot of bad experiences while living with Philadelphia. He became a very young father, which I mean I can assume watching the movie terrified him, and the idea of responsibility and all that at such a young age and disrupting his artist's life and his freedom. It's very much a nightmarish film about those things. I'm sure there's more to it. Lynch was famously closeted about what the movie meant to him, so maybe it meant something completely different to me. To me, it's pretty straightforward. It's a nightmarish film about responsibility and fatherhood
yeah,
and the environment that you're forced to live in. And I love it. It's 90 minutes of it's a 90-minute nightmare, and
it really is.
it's bizarre, it's inventive, it's funny. I mean it's a darkly funny movie, and it it's just it I think it's great.
It it's it seeing it when I first saw it, I just thought, oh, this is weird. This is disturbing.
Yeah.
Seeing it, and I thought, there was no part of it that I really enjoyed watching because it I at the time I first watched it, I thought that I didn't understand the whole concept of dream logic. In film, I didn't understand the concept of body horror,
Right.
the way that David Lynch wanted to express it. I didn't understand the concept of a young father dealing with his responsibility. There were some that, in many ways, I still don't understand any of
Yeah.
that. But
I'm not sure it can be. I'm not sure most of his movies can be fully understood. But
yeah,
yeah.
I but uh, as as an experimental film, him coming from art school and wanting to, in his words, use to make moving paintings
Mhm.
with sound. Um, I think that it works well as his first feature length film.
Yeah.
It I Some of his other student films, his experimental films that were just uh were just him saying, I wonder what's going to happen here if I do this. I wonder what this is going to look like. And he he did experiments with rotting fruit and all kinds of stuff, just to see what would happen. And he showed it to his father, and his father, before he took him back to the bus depot or whatever, the train station, wherever he took him to before they separated companies, he told him he told David that he said, son, I don't think you should ever have children.
Yeah, I remember that story. And he did more than rotting food. It was more rotting animal bodies and stuff like that that he
Yeah,
experimented with. And that stuff, the older I get, it's a little bit like, that's a little
yeah,
disturbing. But whatever. I mean, whatever floats your boat,
yeah.
David.
Well, I mean, as a vegan, I kind of have a problem with that.
Sure,
But
sure.
but
To my
he
knowledge,
even
he never killed animals. He just took found dead ones and experimented with their bodies. And as a vegetarian, that's not something I would be comfortable with doing either. I'm not a
yeah
vegan, but I'm a vegetarian. But I would not enjoy looking at a dead animal. It would
no
bother
no
me. So
yeah
uh, so
yeah
but that's whatever floats your boat, David.
yeah, just like, okay, uh I if had I been given the project to recreate his, I definitely would have had to have been very creative with the set design. I would not have been able to um, to just I mean, the body horror elements were so easily evoked with the the chicken heads or whatever, and the raw meat or what,
Yeah,
whatever stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. So I would have to prevail upon the talents of a very talented art department, um and very and just like, oh, please save me. I would because it just it really works out for what I think he was trying to accomplish. Uh, that is a really successful film,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I think he has even said it's his most spiritual film,
He has. I
which
believe he did.
so what I take from that is that he was trying to purge his demons when he made
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I think that it's very that till the end of his life, no film was more personal and meaningful for him.
yeah.
I think that he was satisfied with a lot of his later work. I think that he put himself into everything that he did, not necessarily to his satisfaction, because I think he would have liked to have had final cut with Dune, which he wasn't
Of
able to
course he
get.
did. Yes. So
Yeah, but
he not only didn't have final cut on duty, he said it was a compromise from beginning to end. Like from writing
yeah,
it to directing it to
yeah.
he was constantly having to please Rafaela and Dino De Laurentiis.
Who was what the Canadian filmmaker who made the Dead Zone?
Cronenberg.
Cronenberg and he were making their films at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and they went to Big Boy Diner, and David Lynch was just complaining from beginning to end because he because of the studio was breathing down his neck,
Yeah,
and Dino De Laurentiis because he didn't have as much invested in the Dead Zone.
right.
Cronenberg, by had a much more wonderful time.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I
The
can
Dead
believe
Zone
that.
was
I can believe that. And I
so. I
love the Dead
mean,
Zone. I love the Dead Zone.
yeah, it's a great film. I mean, Cronenberg is another body horror filmmaker
Hmm.
whose films, with the exception of Crash, I would say I actually enjoy more. But he's I don't think he's anywhere near as experimental as
I
Lynch was.
admire Cronenberg immensely. I don't always love the result. Like I love some of his
Yeah,
movies. I love a handful of his movies, but that's a different podcast. We can do another
yeah,
podcast on
yeah,
Cronenberg
absolutely.
sometime.
And I would love to participate in that one as
Yeah,
well.
let's plan on that then. I'd love to
Okay,
do
cool,
a Cronenberg podcast. Number
cool.
three, I would imagine this is the movie you might have had the most problem with that you were alluding to earlier is Lost Highway.
Yeah,
1997's Lost Highway. It's a very abstract movie, but I love its style. Like it, I love it's a film noir nightmare.
yeah,
Just and Lynch himself, I'm quoting Lynch and saying what I find it to be about because I think it's dead on accurate. He says it's a movie about walking with the wrong person. It's a movie to me about this man who is desperately in love with his wife. She's obviously unfaithful to him. It emasculates him. It makes him go insane. He kills her, and then he retreats into a fantasy world while he's in prison waiting for death row. And he imagines himself as this young stud but his reality pokes through his fantasy, and he realizes that the woman he's pining after is another form of his wife, um, and reality just pokes its ugly head into his fantasy. And to me, it died at the end when he's driving away from the cops and he starts uh, fritzing and smoking. That's him dying in the electric chair. It's just I don't know if it's as straight. I don't think you can quite piece it together as simply as I just tried to. It's very open to interpretation, but man, I love this movie, and it's co-written by the great Barry Gifford, who is a novelist that I really admire and that I discovered because of Lynch. Um, because Lynch adapted one movie that we still haven't gotten into from one of his books. But yeah, I love Lost Highway. I love the soundtrack. I just love everything about it. It's one of my favorite movies.
I it's I really thought that Bill Pullman, before seeing Lost Highway, I thought he was just, kind of just a, kind of a okay actor.
Yeah,
But man, uh, ever since, that, I was like, actors have so much more potential than just as uh, the throwaway characters we we see as young people as unless we are engaged as unless we're engaged in the filmmaking process and we know actors and we know that they're human beings,
yeah.
we we don't really appreciate all that they can do.
Right.
And Bill
Well,
Pullman,
actors in Hollywood are typecast, and
yeah, yeah,
if you prove that you're good at one thing, you're going to get cast. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, you're going to get cast in that role. And Bill Pullman was often cast as the kind of dorky, kind of the other man who
yeah,
mankind discards, that kind of thing.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
yeah,
And his I didn't love the Lost Highway because, like you said, it just was so abstract, and I had to the parts of I felt like a lot was lost in inaudible dialogue,
gotcha.
and I wanted to. I tried turning up the volume as loud as I
Yeah,
could, but I um uh, but that didn't really work very well.
watch it with
I
subtitles.
I think that you're absolutely right. The he, as the Balthazar Getty character, he is a that was him living out, trying to live out his fantasy, and
Yeah,
then and then uh and then the well, I don't remember the name of the the older actor, the
Robert Blake.
yeah, Robert Blake, and he has off-screen history that is worth
Yes,
mentioning, doesn't
yes,
he?
yes. He was accused of he got away with it, but he was many people believe he murdered his wife.
Yeah.
Much
So
like
and
and Lynch was very influenced by the O.J. Simpson trial when he wrote Lost Highway. So there's another connection. It's there's a lot of wife killing surrounding this movie.
yeah, it. So there you go. Like in my opinion, Robert Blake's character, he sort of represented um, the dark potential uh, that Bill Pullman's character was wrestling with,
Gotcha.
and I think that he,
Do you mean Robert Blake or Robert Loggia?
I don't know who the other character is.
Robert Blake
Actually,
was Robert Blake was the guy in the with the white face, the mystery man who shows up with the
yeah,
video. Is that who you're talking about?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
And then Robert Loggia
He,
was the gangster guy who beats the crap out of the guy for tailgating him.
no, I don't even remember that.
Okay,
I don't remember
okay,
that performance. Robert Blake, in my opinion, he was the Dark Stranger. He. I just remember for some reason he just really stands out. He just kind of like not. I don't know if he was the devil or if he was death,
I don't know
but
what he was. I don't know what he was.
I think he was he for me he was the polarity. You know, he was the imbalance that that should have been a warning sign that Bill Pullman did not ignore.
Gotcha,
And
gotcha.
I think that he talked about in an interview he talked about the bad crowd he ran out around with
Mm,
when he was in Washington
yeah,
D.C. and the you know I think um, that was some of the reason for some of his friction with his mother.
yeah.
You know, she just was disappointed in him that he wasn't
I think
being a
you're
good student.
yes.
But I think that influenced the characterization. You know, the knowing that there's a bad crowd, but not being able to escape them.
Yeah,
And uh, friends of convenience are a kind of a double-edged sword.
right.
They're there, and we may love them for helping us, get through our days and make life seem less boring. But some friends just aren't worth the time. You know,
Sure.
if they're dragging you down, if they're getting, if you're getting into fights all the time, if you're if you're getting into fights all the time with other gangs, if you're if you're cutting school all the time and and making your parents unhappy and they you gotta you have to. I think no matter what, as if you're a teenager, you have to trust your parents to some extent,
Sure.
unless they're abusive, and if they themselves are the bad influence, then you even if they're if for the most part they seem like terrible parents, you have to at least listen to them and
Right.
use you and I think that's he I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but because I'm kind of losing the thread. But
Sure.
I think that yeah, there is. It's not. It is the movie that I least understood, but I still appreciate it its for its narrative potential, and that
Gotcha.
there's a lot of symbolism there that was lost on me at the time. That if I wanted to really go back and look for it, I'm sure that I would benefit from giving it a second or third chance.
I highly recommend you do. I highly recommend you
Thank you.
do. Number two is 1986's Blue Velvet. Many consider this to be David Lynch's masterpiece. I'm very close to naming it. Then the remaining two movies, by the way, are both in my top 10 of all time. Blue Velvet is just a little bit lower than number one because I feel like before I get into my complaints against it, I think it's a great movie about male abuse towards women. I think it's you've got the Frank Booth character who's just this outwardly unabashed misogynist who just abuses Isabella Rossellini with glee, and then you've got Kyle MacLachlan's good boy character who discovers his own violent urges through the duration of the movie, and discovers he's not quite as innocent as he once thought he was. And it's about accepting the fact that there's an uncomfortable reality inside of just about everybody, and the point is to realize it's there, but to not the moral is to realize it's there underneath the bright surfaces of the neighborhood you live in, underneath realize there's something lurking beneath every exterior, and you have to acknowledge it or it consumes you.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant film about that theme. I There's not much else for me to say about it because it's probably one of his less abstract movies because it's definitely got its surreal touches, but it's pretty straightforward in what it's saying. At least it's pretty straightforward, at least in comparison to Lynch's other movies. Uh, but I think it's a beautiful movie. My only complaint, there's just some logistical stuff towards the end that I'm just kind of like, like, and again, spoiler alert, but when they take Dorothy Valens away in the hospital and she goes away, why does Jeffrey go back to her apartment? What compels him to do that? Little things like that. There's a little bit of a loose thread of, is Sandy's father involved in this? And I wish that maybe that had been a little more explored. I think there's a little bit of or maybe I don't know. I go back and forth on it. Maybe Lynch intended it to be ambiguous, but to me, it feels like less ambiguous and maybe ever so slightly sloppy, in that some things aren't quite explained enough, well enough, or developed well enough. But like I said, it's in my top 10 movies of all time. I think it's a masterpiece, and I think it definitely it's the movie that it does, yeah. It's the movie that really Lynch says what Lynch sums up a lot of what's in his other work, both before and after, about his feelings towards damaged women, towards women who are in trouble, towards women who are being abused. And like I said, there's this kind of immature romanticization of it, and but there's also this very empathetic uh, 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 speaking out against it. It's just a beautiful movie. It's an intoxicating mystery. I watch it every few years, and it's a wonderful film.
Yeah, I think that there definitely it has to be some dream logic going on in there because I don't care how tough of a guy you are, your henchmen aren't going to be respecting you for very long if you're constantly complaining about, not having a good relationship with your mommy,
Yeah,
and needing to suck oxygen out of a gas mask all the time. I think that they'd be like, this guy we better take care of the boss. The boss say he ain't using all his marbles. He ain't,
yeah,
so I don't know
yeah.
any gangster talk. But yeah, I think that there is no way that what's the name of the actor who
Dennis
played
Hopper.
I'm sorry.
Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, shoot, Des Hopper, great actor, from Apocalypse Now and Easy Rider, great classic American actor, and
Absolutely.
to have and so to bring him into this film as a gangster, it seems so natural because he was a couple years later he did Speed. He was great as the
Yeah,
villain in Speed.
yeah,
It made a lot of sense, and he makes a lot of sense in Blue Velvet if you accept the fact that Lynch's dream logic plays an element.
yeah.
If you say these are comic book characters brought to life on the screen.
Right.
They're they are not, this is not noir as you're used to seeing it. This is Lynch's take on on noir piece because he wants to say something about different kinds of violence, and especially
Right.
violence towards women, like you
Right.
said.
Right.
I don't. It's not a. It is it's it's it is Frank Miller and uh, Joseph Goulder, the creator Dick Tracy. I'm sure that their characterizations of villains are 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 no less weird than David Lynch's,
Yeah.
but uh, but they are very different from the villains that you'd see depicted in more realistic, like in Sopranos even. You know, it's not that inconceivable that a mob boss might want to go see a psychiatrist, but it is inconceivable that a mob boss would complain about his issues with his mother all the time
Sure.
in front of his employees.
Sure. Sure.
It's not inconceivable um, that a mob boss would threaten one of his henchmen, but it is inconceivable that a mob boss would flaunt his his weaknesses, in
Yeah, he
front of.
does. He does it more in towards he does. I at least from what we see, he may do it in front of his henchmen too, but he does it more in front of Dorothy, the Isabella Rossellini character, and the
Yeah,
woman he abuses than he does his henchmen. I think he's, but you do see him. You are on the right track because you do see him like in the In Dreams scene when when Dean Stockwell is lip syncing to Roy Orbison, and you see Dennis Hopper like weeping and crying and getting all emotional from it, and you see him weeping with his henchmen when he's listening to Isabella Rossellini sing in the Clo Hub. He definitely flaunts his weaknesses and
yeah,
his psychosis and whatever you want to call it in front of his henchmen. So yeah,
yeah.
you're on the right track. You're on the right track. But
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think that Kyle McLaughlin, he I'm really glad that David Lynch kind of discovered him.
Yeah.
He definitely evolved so much in front of our eyes from from Dune to what yeah, from Dune, and that's where he got the nickname Kale,
Kale. Yeah.
because Dino De Laurentiis just couldn't say Kyle,
Right.
all the way to what was his last Lynch film?
He did Twin Peaks: The Return with Lynch, and I believe his last Lynch film would have been Fire Walk with Me.
So and he we've seen him mature so much over the years, and we saw some of his potential there in Blue Velvet. I
Yeah.
thought that was I don't think that he was wasted at all,
Oh
even though
no, he
he
did a
kept working
terrific job in
with.
Blue Velvet.
I'm sorry.
He did a terrific job in Blue Velvet. He should have been
Yeah,
Oscar
he
nominated.
really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did really did. I think that um his all of his performances that we've seen him in with Lynch were steps forward.
Yeah.
I don't know that if we've been able to see that kind of evolution with a single actor, with too many other filmmaker actor pairings,
Right.
and so that's I think that's been an interesting process to watch too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. And now we're down to number one, which is my opinion's in the minority about this one, but it's the first movie that I really saw. I'd seen Dune because my sister was a big Sting fan when we were kids, but so I had seen pieces of Dune, and I think I'd seen a couple episodes of Twin Peaks at this point. But my first real Lynch movie was 1990's Wild at Heart. It to this day remains my favorite Lynch movie. Maybe because it was my first. I don't think so because I'll give my reasons why I think it's great here. But I just remember my first experience watching it. I watched it at home with my dad. We used to watch movies on weekends or on Friday nights. That was my visitation with my father, and we rented Wild at Heart. And I remember it's one of the few times I've ever been watching a movie, maybe one of two times, and the other movie would have been Terminator 2, where I was watching the movie thinking to myself, man, I do not want this to end. Please don't end, never end. I just want this movie to go on forever. And I remember then watching another movie after Wild at Heart. I don't even remember what that movie was, thinking, man, I wish we would have watched Wild at Heart second because I could be watching Wild at Heart right now. Because it was just, and it to me it's Lynch at his most vivacious. It's him at his most freeform. It's this mishmash of genres. It's a romance. It's an action movie. It's a horror movie. It's a thriller. It's just all. It's a road movie. It's a pop culture reference to Elvis and Marilyn Monroe. It's just all these things. It's a huge reference to Wizard of Oz. It's this it's a movie and it's alive. It's just thrilling. And I watch it every few years. I don't want to wear it out. I don't watch it every year, I don't think. But it's just a wonderful movie. And to me, and it's based off of, like I said, an author that I really admire. It's based off his book, Barry Gifford, and it's a very different movie than the book, but the book's still equally great. But yeah, and it goes without saying. It should not go without saying, or it goes without saying that Nicolas Cage is my favorite actor. It's got one. I believe this is Nicolas Cage's best movie. Maybe not necessarily his best performance, even though it's up there. The chemistry between him and Laura Dern is just on fire. It's one of the best romantic chemistries I've ever seen. It's like right up there with Harry Met Sally, only a much darker movie, of course. But it's just a vivacious movie, as I said earlier. It's totally alive, and it's electric. I love watching it. I love
Yeah.
it. It's my favorite Lynch movie. It's number three in my top 10 movies of all time.
I I do- I the, I think it directly influenced at least two of Quentin Tarantino's movies.
I agree
Or
completely.
I think and I don't mean movies he directed. I mean movies that he wrote.
Yeah,
True Romance
yeah,
and Natural Born
I
Killers.
agree. I'm not sure. I know I've questioned that myself. There, True Romance especially. There's Elvis
Yeah,
references in both. It's road
yeah,
movie for both. Wild at Heart came out first. I'm pretty sure it's a coincidence, but don't quote me on this. I'm not sure because I know True Romance was written in the late 80s and he was trying to get that movie made for a long time,
yeah,
with him directing it. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You could be right. It's almost too big of a coincidence for them not for Quentin Tarantino not to have been influenced by Wild at Heart,
yeah,
but I'm not sure because I know he wrote that in 88 or 89 and Lynch wrote it very quickly in 1990, right before he
yeah.
made the movie because he based it on the book. So I'm not sure. It could be a coincidence, but yes, the comparisons are great there from between Natural Born Killers and True Romance especially.
I'm glad that you spelled it out because it for me it was like, oh well, I saw True Romance first,
Mm-hmm.
and then I saw Wild at Heart. I was just like, well, clearly Tarantino ripped off
Right,
David Lynch.
and we all
You
know
know?
Quentin Tarantino is not above ripping anybody off,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
great as he
So
is.
yeah, and Natural Born Killers is also very similar characters.
Yeah,
I thought that. Um,
Natural Born Killers is
uh,
another one of my favorite movies.
I think that I don't know. I don't know if Lynch influenced all of Tarantino's movies, but I definitely see his influence in a lot of them.
I think
I
so
even
too. I really do think he influenced Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino doesn't quite give him his props. He said in the past, the only quote I know about Quentin Tarantino and David Lynch was he gave at the Cannes Film Festival in 92 when Fire Walk with Me was there. He said he at one point loved David Lynch, but he didn't want to see any more David Lynch movies after Fire Walk with Me until he did something different because he accused him of crawling up his own ass, which is pretty hypocritical of Quentin Tarantino.
yeah, yeah,
He gave his opinion about Lynch. I don't think he's said much about him since then. But yes, the way violence is depicted, both graphically and humorously, uh,
yeah.
I see a lot of Lynch influence on Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, and even movies that you don't, even other movies like From Dusk Till Dawn,
Yeah,
I see the influence there.
yeah,
And that's again, that's not. It's only. It's not. He didn't direct the whole thing, but
he didn't direct it.
um, he did he direct like a sequence in it?
That
Like,
was Sin City. He directed a sequence in Sin City so Robert Rodriguez could introduce him to digital filmmaking.
okay, that's okay, cool.
I could be
And
wrong.
then,
I that to my knowledge, he only directed as Robert Rodriguez directed all of Dust Till Dawn, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe he
but
was.
but Quentin Tarantino did write it, right?
Yes, yes, he wrote it based
Or,
off of a
or wrote
story
it.
of by Robert Kurtzman. I want to say.
Then and there are other elements though in other movies of his that just seem like they're straight out of Wild at Heart.
Yeah.
Like the like the not all of the you did hear that signal, did that come up?
Oh no,
No,
I
it
didn't hear
doesn't.
that. No.
Okay. The not all of his car dialogues, but I think uh the the with Vince and oh shoot, in Pulp Fiction when they're his uh his dialogues between Vince and Mia, you know, before and after the diner. I
Hmm.
thought that those were kind of Lynchian,
Yeah.
especially um when uh Vince was just vibing
Yeah.
in by himself, you know, after having just shut up.
Yeah.
um I thought that really was very Lynchian moment. And but with with Wild at Heart, Laura Dern was such a great discovery. I don't know if that was her first movie,
No, no.
but
Blue. She was in Blue Velvet. She was in Small Talk. She was in Mask. She'd been around for a while.
oh, but she really gave such a
Oh, she
fantastic
was
performance
wonderful.
in that.
Both she and Nicolas Cage deserved Oscar
Yeah,
nominations. Diane Ladd got nominated for an Oscar for that movie, which she deserved as the evil mother, which who's Laura Dern's actual mother, who also sadly passed this last year. Uh, but she was the only actor I believe, and Willem Dafoe should have been nominated too, but I don't think he was. I think it was just Diane Ladd.
I uh, uh, with Laura Dern, I mean, I never. Yeah, she really was a great. I don't really remember seeing a, an actress so uninhibited on screen before that.
Yeah,
You know, she really gave everything to that
yeah,
performance,
yeah.
and and that really speaks a lot to David Lynch's character that she was willing
Absolutely,
to do that for him.
absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
I the the fact that because actors have to be sensitive people. They have to be
Absolutely.
able to understand a director's soul well enough to, you know, that they be, I mean, be to open up to them. I think that's why I um, didn't work as well as a director, because I wasn't able to connect with my actors very
Mhm.
well. I think that, and David Lynch, the his penchant for experimentation might alienate him from his actors, but for some reason it works. For some reason he's able to come across as, or he was, I mean,
Yeah,
no longer alive, but
yeah.
he was able to come across as just a pure artist.
He was an
And
actor's director. I've
yeah,
read. I think the only actor he publicly had any issues with was Anthony Hopkins, and Anthony. I think he chose the right actors to work with. He chose actors who were comfortable with improvisation and with doing it off the seat of their pants on the fly. I
yeah,
think he just chose the right actors to work with because, and I think I know Patricia Arquette had some moments of discomfort on Lost Highway with the nudity and everything, but for the most part, actors loved him.
yeah,
Yeah, actors just loved him, and I think he was a very generous director for them to work with, from what I
yeah.
understand. So yeah.
I I think that uh he he what's it he kind of famously had temper tantrums when his assistant directors didn't give him enough time for shots, or
He did
and
later in his life, like on the set of
yeah.
Twin Peaks, on the Twin Peaks Return. For the most part, I noticed a change in him as he got older. When
Mhm.
he was young, he was famously very even tempered, and everybody said he was even tempered for the most part, even though there were a few stories. But there's video proof of him losing his shit quite, pardon my language, of him losing
Yeah.
his shit quite often when he was making Twin Peaks: The Return and Inland Empire. Which was a
Yeah.
little disappointing for me to see because I grew up idolizing this guy who was supposedly never raised his voice on set. But who knows?
Yeah.
That might have been a myth. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
But from what I understand, he had very few temper tantrums when he was younger. But I think that kind of changed as he got older.
So so that that change, I wonder if that speaks to his disappointments as a filmmaker, if that he wasn't able to. Um, I, are there interviews that he talks about whether or not he considers his film successes?
I believe he. I mean, I think he always loved his films, but and Chris Rodley's Lynch on Lynch from the Faber film series. Chris Rodley says you have been successful, and David Lynch's response is, "What have you been smoking?" So, in terms of popularity and financial successes, I don't think he ever considered himself to be a success, which is kind
Right.
of ridiculous because he's David freaking Lynch. I mean, how
Yeah.
can you not feel like you're a success when you're David Lynch? But
Right.
apparently, I mean, any director is probably sensitive. I know I would be if I lost the people who gave me money. If I was ever given, if the movie I'm working now is the first budgeted movie I've ever worked on, and if that movie lost money, I'd feel bad. If it winds up losing money, I mean, it's not an expensive movie by any means. I think it's like 25 grand. But if that movie lost money, I'd feel bad. So I think
The producers will probably make their money back on tax credits.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So,
I don't think you have to worry about that. Just
but
if you
yeah,
if you
I
show up
know
and
that modern filmmaking is probably much more rushed than it was in the 80s and 90s with digital and everything and with budgets being lower. And I know he complained about the speed of working on Twin Peaks: The Return, how he hated how fast he had to work. Because he really, I mean, he took like 5 years to make Eraserhead. So
yeah,
he was somebody who liked taking his time while making a movie.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
I know later in his career he felt very rushed.
yeah, there are few filmmakers who have enjoyed as much creative freedom as David Lynch has
Very
in his
few, and I'm not sure if there's ever going to be another David Lynch today. I don't know if there's
no.
ever going to be somebody who has that kind of idiosyncratic point of view who is able to work. And he was I mean, I hate when people call him an independent filmmaker. He was a mainstream filmmaker. He may have been a big budget mainstream filmmaker, but he worked with budgets. He worked in the mainstream. Somebody
Yeah,
with his sensibilities in the mainstream, with similar sensibilities or as unique of sensibilities, it may never exist again.
yeah, yeah. You may be right about that. I think that um, yeah, which is unfortunate. We'll never have another Kubrick. We'll never have another David Lynch.
Yeah.
I mean, we might. I
I hope
mean,
so. I hope so. But it's I know from experience, it's really tough trying to get movies made that don't fall into specific
yeah,
categories.
yeah.
What's
You're
already
right about
it's hard to make movies that haven't already been done in one way or another before.
yeah.
So
Making a truly original experimental film uh, that a studio will back with its resources
yeah,
is very, very rare.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I think that they might be willing to do it uh, with really small budgets,
yeah.
like especially like an art house studio, like A24. They make
The
pretty good interest.
A24. Now you're right about that. A24 makes movies that I feel like are all the vast majority of their movies are very Lynchian. Uh,
Yeah.
but I don't know how long A24 is going to be around because I don't think their movies really make money. I've never seen a super successful A24 movie. But yeah, yeah. I mean, there are examples of movies that permeate the
Yeah.
mainstream. 10 years ago, Spring Breakers made that was a very unique movie by Harmony Korine, and
Yeah.
it made its money back in the mainstream. It was granted it was like a $4 million movie, so it wasn't super high budget, but I believe it made
Yeah.
15-20 grand or 15-20 million when it came out worldwide, and it definitely made its money back, and that was partially funded by A24. But yeah, A24 movies do not make a lot at the box office. They may make a
Yeah.
lot of money through their deal with HBO Max. I don't know. I'd have to do more reading about that. But
And,
A24 are very Lynchian movies.
yes, very. And Blumhouse, they have some experimental horror films.
But
You know
they're
that.
but they're they they're allowed to get made and find an audience because they fall under the category of horror.
Yes.
That
Yeah. Yeah.
within that genre, people are taking risks. Especially
Yeah.
horror, you can get away with a lot. You can get away with a
Yes.
lot in the horror genre, but
Yeah.
Lynch never specifically made horror movies.
And so many directors have cut their teeth in that genre.
Yeah, yeah,
So yes, Lynch. There are very few directors whose names have become adjectives.
yeah.
You know,
Cronenberg-esque, Lynchian,
yeah.
Gilliam-esque.
The, there's no such thing as Spielberger-esque
Right.
or Spielberger-esque.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as as uh
Bayish.
and perhaps when a movie does have um a a contemporary movie, it does have a director's name modifying it. It's more likely to be a derogatory, like the who's the or producers names associated with it.
Yeah.
It's more likely to be derogatory. Like um I can't remember the asshole who made um like Pearl Harbor and those types of movies, but
Jerry Bruckheimer. I have respect for Jerry Bruckheimer.
so
He makes a
so
good product.
Bruckheimer makes really clean, glib
Yeah,
movies that
which I appreciate.
that
Which I appreciate. For pure
that,
entertainment level, I appreciate it.
for that they make their money back at the box office, but I don't feel like that they have souls the way that
Yeah.
Lynch's films do.
No, Lynch's movies are soul. They all have soul.
They he found a way to immortalize himself
Yeah.
by injecting a piece of his soul into his films,
Well said.
and that is very, very uncommon.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, everybody. This is Other People's Movies. We had a blast doing this, and we'll see you next time.